So we have seen a program with functions in it. We have seen a very simple function. So functions are very similar to if you are used to reading newspaper. In the front of the newspaper, we will see a lot of articles, which is pointing to a page inside the whole newspaper. So go to page number 29, go to page number XYZ. Functions are very similar to that. Not exactly same. I'm just giving you an analogy. So an article is starting in the front page and it is not completing in that page itself. It is asking you to go to page number X to read rest of the news of that article, rest of that article. So that is common use case in a real world, which is similar to functions. Again, functions are more like a convenience thing. For example, you can finish that article in the front page itself. But for convenience, you are deferring that article to a different page inside the newspaper. Like that, function is also a convenience thing. It helps to reuse code. We will see such things shortly. But if you ask me if you can write programs without function, the answer is yes. But normally we write programs using functions to make programs more readable and avoid repetition of code. Being said that, let's play around with the same example we were using before. Let's make some modification and let's see how that program behaves in slightly different scenarios. So this is the program we've been looking at so far. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this particular thing to something else. XYZ. So as you can see, there is no problem here, but there is a problem here. So the name, I have changed the name. So it's just like a variable. Anything I can put here, but when I use it, I have to use the same thing. So here, XYZ. Everything is same now. No problem. If I put a 1 here, again, I have to put the 1 here. So that is one thing we need to see. Otherwise, it'll say it doesn't know. What is error we are getting? XYZ is not defined. That's error we are getting. Why? Because the definition here is for XYZ1. Just like the variable, this is case sensitive as well. So if I put it capital X and here if I remove the 1, still it doesn't work because this is case sensitive. Just like the variable names are all case sensitive. Just like that, the function name is also case sensitive. For the same reason, the print pcaps doesn't work because it's a function. It's a function which is defined. The definition is somewhere else. We'll get into that later. So this is also a function which we are calling, which is defined by someone. And this point, line number 6, is called calling a function or using a function. Normally it is called calling a function. So let me write that down for you. Calling a function, which is XYZ in this case. And this is defining a function. So hash, again comment, defining a function. So it explains what the function does. I can have any number of lines. So let me put some additional line here. So another line. We can have any number of lines here. Now, only rule is the distance, the spaces in front should be exactly same. Otherwise, it'll make problems. So let's try that. Let's remove a space. So I have put only 2 spaces. I had 4 spaces. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to do a print. Even before typing, it is started making problems. Wrong line. Yeah, so it is making problem. Let's see what's the problem. If you hover the mouse, it will show the problem. Right now it's showing the documentation of the print. That's not what I want. I want to know the details of the error. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to execute it. Start debugging. Yeah, this is what I was looking. Indentation error. So the distance or the number of spaces from here is called indent. This is an indentation error. If you're getting this error, it means that somewhere you messed up the spaces in front of a line. That's very important point. If I put additional spaces here, there is no problem. Python doesn't care much. But if you put space in front of a line, that's a problem. You cannot put more spaces as well. So this is fine. This is exactly same number of spaces. Now, if I put one more space extra, it's again unhappy. I'm expecting pretty much the same error. If I hover the mouse, I should get that unexpected indentation. Again, I have removed it, all good. Now, if I remove all the spaces, then it is happy. So line number 6 is fine. It's not a wrong line anymore. Why? Because this particular function, that definition is over in line number 4. So the way Python understands a line is part of the function or not is using the number of spaces in front of the line. Now, line number 6 is not part of the function. It is part of the main program, not the function. The function is just line number 3 and 4. Now, if I put more space again, now this is going to be part of the function. So you can execute it. You can play around and execute it. Now, I have 4 spaces here. Is that a must? No, it is not. What I'm going to do is I'm going to reduce the space. Number of spaces I'm going to reduce. I have no space. That is a problem. No space is a problem because the function doesn't have a definition. If I put 1 space, it is fine. So it is okay with just 1 space. Now the definition of function is just this. This is not part of the function. Now let's see that. I'm going to run the program. So if you look at this, another line, wrong line, before function, and then comes inside function. I hope you are not confused. Make sure that you execute it by yourself. So there is 1 space here. That's why this is printed here. The function execution happens after line number 7 at line number 8. So this is printed right here. Now, if I put 1 more space here, it will be part of the function. So now the execution changes. So start debugging again. So as you can see, before function, inside function, another line, wrong line, and after function. So it took entire 3, 4, 5 inside the definition of the function. And it is coming as part of the function call. Now the main use of function is, this is a piece of code which you can reuse. How do you reuse it? All I need is copy and paste it anywhere in the program. So I'm going to do Control-C, Control-V, Control-V, Control-V. So any number of times I can execute that function. Now the entire thing is going to execute 1, 2, 3, 4 times because I have called the function 4 times. So this particular piece of code will execute that many number of times. So let's see that. Start debugging. As you can see, it is getting repeated right here inside function 1. Now this function doesn't do anything. This is not a very useful function we have here. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to pass some arguments to that function and make use of that function in a slightly different way. So let's see that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rename this function called sum or mysum, and it takes 2 arguments, a and b. So this is how you pass argument to a function. So it's a function we have. It has a and b. So I'll explain this syntax. So let's write the function. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to return a plus b. To make it readable, what I'm going to do is I'm going to define another variable, c equal to a plus b, and return c, just to make it a little more readable. Now what we are going to do is we are going to have x equal to 100 and y equal to 200. Although I'm saying equal to, I'll be keep saying it. This is assignment. Never forget that. In fact, it is read as equal to in many places. It's not wrong to say x equal to 100 in a programming language, but it means x is assigned to 100 or 100 is given as value into the variable x. However you want to read it out. Now my sum, and that's a function, x comma y result. I have another variable result. Now I'm printing the result here, print result. So let's see if the program is working as expected. I'm going to start running. So we have 300, it is expected result, no surprises. Now let's have a quick look at what's going on. So we have modified the function like so. Now the function is taking something called argument. What is that argument? Two arguments, A and B. They are nothing but two variables. So it's a piece of code and it is taking two arguments. Arguments are nothing but input to the function. There are two inputs. It can have any number of inputs, but this particular function has only two inputs. Now what it is doing? It is doing an operation here, an addition operation, and it is producing a result or output here. And line number 4, it is returning that output. So this is a very common thing in programming language. A function is a piece of code which takes an input and gives an output. It happens all the time, left, right, and center. So this is a typical example. So return is a keyword. We have learned about keyword. Def is a keyword. Return is a keyword. There are two keywords we have used in this small piece of code, which is a function. Now how the arguments are passed? Inside the bracket right here. A, then there is this comma. This comma is very, very important. That is what makes it have two arguments, A and B. This comma is very important. Spaces here are optional. So you can have space here if you want, here. Python doesn't worry much about spaces in between. By the way, this space is not optional. So that space you need to give, but this spaces are optional. So this comma is very, very important, as well as this comma. We will come to it. So it has taken two inputs here and it has done an operation on that input and it has given the output. So we have seen this particular statement. It is no different from the operation example we have seen. It's an operation, just like any other operation. It's doing an operation and assigning the output to C. Now return C, which means that return this output, whatever we got it here, to the caller. Who is the caller? Caller is right here. And caller will capture that result right here in another variable. So a lot of things happening all of a sudden. Now, this is the definition of the function. Now let's come back to the main program. What is happening here? Line number 6, we know what it is, just printing, no surprises. How about line number 8? This is also familiar to us. We are opening up a bag and putting 100 into it. Variable assignment. We have seen it many, many times as of now. Same, another variable assignment. So X has 100 inside, Y has 200 inside. Now what we are doing, we are calling a function right here. So this is a function call we are doing, just like we did before. But in this case, we are passing argument into the function, which is X and Y. And the return value, so this is a return value. The return value is stored here in result. And then we are printing the result. So one thing we need to understand, or one thing we need to notice here, is that the program executes from top to bottom, but many of the lines, as we have seen, they are executing from right to left, which is little unconventional from an English language perspective. So this is executing before this part, if you have observed. So that is very unconventional. So in this line, this part is getting executed first before this part. So it's like certain languages like Arabic is read like that. It is behaving like that. So keep a note of that. That is how things are. In most of the programming language, it is like that. C, C++, Java, C#. Python is again no different. I don't know any other programming languages which doesn't behave like this, at least not in my knowledge. So it is executing right to left, not the normal way. So keep that in mind. Line number 10, this execute first, and then it is assigning the result to the variable result. And we are printing the result right here.